This is an NBC News special report. Here's Jose Diaz-Balart.
Good evening. We are coming on the air with breaking news. There has been an incident at Donald Trump's Pennsylvania rally. It appears shots have apparently been fired and Donald Trump has been injured. I'm going to pause to let you see the video as it played out.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Moving his hair. Hold. When you're ready. On you.
Ready?
Move.
Up.
Move. Go.
Up. Hawkeye's here.
So here's what we know at this hour. What sounds like shots rang out. The former president grabbed his ear and as he fell was immediately surrounded by security behind the podium. And as you can see in these images, he was shortly rushed off the stage. This is an emerging situation. NBC's Dasha Burns is at that Trump rally north of Pittsburgh and joins us now. Dasha, what do we know?
Jose, we're still waiting to confirm a lot of the details here. A lot of question marks still up in the air. Here's what I can tell you from my vantage point, because I was standing right here as Trump first came onto the stage. He was just a few minutes into his speech at this rally. I was in front of a camera, and I was walking off of the press risers here down below to the ground level where all of the general attendants are, as we heard what sounded like gunshots ring out. My producer and I ran to take cover, as did several of the people that are in attendance here, most people ducking down, the press that were behind the risers, press that were at our media tables, ducking down under the tables as we weren't sure what was going on. Our crew who was up on the stage captured some of that video that you showed, the former president getting protected by his Secret Service. They covered him. He looked to have some blood on his face. It looked like his ear was bloody. A lot of chaos and confusion. No one was sure where the gunshots sounded like gunshots were coming from. The former president, as we know, is now inside the motorcade. He may at this point be off-site. The folks here are now evacuating. A lot of confusion, some anger, people yelling at the press here, not sure what to make of what has just happened. The former president was just standing on the stage. He was talking about immigration under President Biden when all of this erupted into chaos. Again, just moments into his appearance here in Butler, Pennsylvania. So far, we're safe. Our crew is safe. We have not seen anyone injured. We have not heard of anyone injured yet, but certainly unexpected, confusing, and we are still waiting to find out what exactly transpired here, Jose.
And Dasha, we want to go back to that video because, as you indeed state, it does seem as though what appears to sound like shots, a number of them did ring out, and the former president clutched his right ear. We saw him that after that he was taken towards that motorcade, and here, or just moments afterwards, you can see from what seems to be his ear, blood in his ear, and there's some blood on his cheeks, but he is conscious. He is with his fist raised in the air as there seems to be blood coming from his right ear. He was conscious the entire time, still is conscious in every single one of the frames of the video that we have here on NBC News as he is being taken into that SUV. There were also moments right after those apparent gunshots rang out where we were able to hear the officials. And let's just listen in together to this.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
I counted about 8 to 11 what seems to be gunshots, and you will be able to hear now.
Hold. When you're ready. On you.
as they're getting ready to transport the former president. And we see now some heavily armed special SWAT team members. But listen to what they say here. Shooter is down, is what one said.
We're clear. We're clear.
This was just moments ago in Pennsylvania. And we'll see the former president stand up with the help of a few people.
Let me get my shoes on.
Hold on in your head.
He says, let me get my shoes.
Watch out.
Donald Trump still speaking as he raises his fist. And there you can see in the middle part of your screens what seems to be blood coming out from his right ear, conscious, shaking and waving that fist as about 5 people help him down the stairs and towards that SUV. And I could hear about 8 to 10 or 11 what seems to be gunshots. Dasha.
Jose, as we stand here, there are a lot of people yelling at the press pen right now, a lot of anger from the people here. I'll tell you, just emotionally, there's been a roller coaster just over the last 10 minutes or so since this happened. It went from confusion, people not sure if what they were hearing was fireworks, but as those sounds continued, as you said, 8 to 11 or so consecutively, people realized this might be dangerous, this might be gunshots. People started to get down, to hide, to feel that fear, that adrenaline that, frankly, I felt as we were trying to make sense of the situation and make sure that our team here and our colleagues here were safe. Then, when you saw the former president in that video get up and raise his fist, we did hear cheers erupt from the crowd, people chanting USA, USA, and the former president was taken into the motorcade. People started to clear out, and now, as this place is empty, littered with water bottles, just looks like a scene of escape right now. Very chaotic exit for everyone. The few people that are remaining are very angry with the media. We are feeling a lot of rage from people right now as everyone is trying to process what just happened. Of course, it is not uncommon for the former president at his rallies to point out the media, to call them fake news, and to target the frustration of his supporters towards the press. And that is a little bit of what we are experiencing right now as people are trying to make sense of what happened, what was supposed to be and was just before these sounds rang out, just before this incident, a pretty jovial, celebratory mood. Music was playing. The former president had just started his speech, and then everything changed, Jose.
When you're ready, on you.
I want to bring in Tom Winter, a special correspondent. Tom, what we can discern from these images that we have from just moments ago is that the former president was speaking, and then as what appear to be gunshots start ringing out, more than one, Tom, is when he seems to touch his right ear, and almost quickly right after that starts dropping, and then that's when the security joined him. But Tom, it looks as though from this image that there is blood just from his right ear, which may have also grazed his cheek.
Jose, I want to stress to everybody that it is preliminary. The information that I am sharing with our audience right now is very early in this investigation. Everything I say is subject to change as law enforcement gathers more information as an investigation continues. I can say with some sense at this time, based upon law enforcement officials that have been briefed initially on the events at the ground, and reporting along with my colleague Jonathan Dinks at 6:29 Eastern Time, that the president is not expected to, the president is expected to survive this incident. I think that's the most important thing for people to know. The former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, current presumptive nominee in the Republican Party, is expected to survive this incident. That's the initial indication that we have from the ground. There is an initial indication that either a fragment of a piece of ammunition or ammunition may have struck the president. It's possible it could have been a bullet ricochet. We just don't know. It's very early in this investigation. We do not have any sort of sense of a suspect. We do not have any sort of a sense of it's just one person or two people. We don't know. We don't know the type of weapon that's used. We don't know the motivation, though it appears to be clear to be going after former President Trump. But again, the headline at this time, the initial indications is that Donald Trump is expected to survive this incident. We've got a lot more calls to make. We've got a lot more information to gather. What I may have just said could change entirely in the next 5 minutes, the next 5 hours. We don't know. But that's the initial indication that we have, all subject to change.
Tom Wuncher, of course, stay on this, and thank you for being with us tonight on this rapidly developing news story. Former President Donald Trump appears to have been shot or hit by some either ammunition or fragments in a rally that he was holding in Pennsylvania just moments ago. I want to turn to the moderator of Meet the Press, Kristen Welker, who is with us as well tonight. Kristen, these images that we're showing show the president to be conscious the former president to be conscious the entire time, shaking and waving his fist in the air, but there does seem to be blood emerging from his right ear and possibly maybe some injury to the cheek.
Jose, that's right. The images are horrifying. The former president with his face bloodied. He's pumping his fists. He appears to be saying fight, fight as he is ushered off stage by the Secret Service. The political world just starting to absorb what has unfolded in Pennsylvania with just days until the Republican National Convention gets underway. Let me read you some of the reactions so far. Kelly O'Donnell has reached out to the Secret Service saying they are still gathering information on this incident. So, of course, we will bring that to our viewers as soon as we get that. President Biden, for his part, was at church in Delaware. As he left, he was asked if he'd been briefed on this rally. He said no. He then got back into his motorcade. Undoubtedly, he will be briefed in the coming moments. J.D. Vance, of course, the senator from Ohio, who is a potential contender to be Trump's VP nominee, tweeting out, "Everyone join me in praying for our President Trump and everyone at that rally. I hope everyone is okay." Jose, we cannot overstate this. This will send shockwaves throughout the political world, throughout the country, as everyone absorbs what has happened. Again, the former president rushed off stage, pumping his fist, appearing to have been injured at this rally in Pennsylvania, Jose.
Kristen Welker, thank you so very much. Stay with us. I want to go back to Dasha Burns, who was at that rally. Dasha, if you would describe to us what set the stage for us, what was happening when the former president was apparently hit with something?
So those of us who are just joining, we were on the press risers. We were in front of the camera as the former president came onto the stage, started speaking. He was speaking, Jose, for maybe 3 to 5 minutes, perhaps even less. He was just starting to talk about the issue of immigration under President Biden. He put some slides up on the screens here. As he was starting to get into that issue, we were getting off the press risers here. I'll just tell you from my personal experience, because we were in the middle of all of this as this all transpired. We were getting off of the press riser, getting to the ground level where all of the attendees are on the grass here at this venue. We heard at first what I thought might have been fireworks. I even saw a little bit of smoke, wasn't sure what was going on. My producer, Bianca, and I then realized this might be something more serious. We then got ourselves behind a barricade for safety, trying to make sure that our colleagues and our peers around us were safe. Everyone ducked down. As you see in that video, the former president ducked down. Secret Service came and protected him. People in the audience here here, those who were attending, initial confusion, shock. Again, when you first hear those shots, you really do think this might be fireworks, just because this is not something that you are expecting when you're at an event like this. We get down on the ground, we hear those continued pop, 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 pops. They kept going. It felt like for a long time for those of us who were here on site. But as you said, listening to it back, it was about 8 to 11 or so of those popping sounds. As the scene started to quiet down, as we stopped hearing those sounds, the former president started to get up, his Secret Service escorting him off the stage. The crowd went from that initial shock, fear, to cheering for him as he stood up, and it was clear that he was not unconscious, but he did seem to be bloody. Then the crowd started to disperse. In fact, we're being told right now that they would like the media to exit the premises, so that's what we're going to do as soon as we finish this, Jose. I'll phone in later if we have more information, Jose.
Dasha, thank you very much. Do what is needed to do. Stay safe and do exactly what authorities are asking you to do. I want to, and if you're listening to us on radio, I want you to listen as well as watch what happened just short moments ago in Pennsylvania at former President Donald Trump's rally. We're going to start from this part and just go right through the whole incident.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Move to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up.
Hawkeye's here.
Hawkeye's here. Move it to the spare.
Spare, get ready. Spare, get ready.
You ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Shooters down. Are we good to move?
We're clear.
Let's move. Let's move.
We're clear. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down. Get the shoe.
Watch out.
This time around, as we play back what happened just a short while ago in Donald Trump's Pennsylvania rally, I heard at least 13 shots, what appeared to be shots, and there was some difference in the intensity or strength of the shots, which could mean that there were a number of, again, shots fired initially, and then there was some responsive shots. We also heard members of security say the shooter is down. Peter Alexander is with us, our chief White House correspondent. Peter, what do we know as of right now? And I understand that President Biden has been informed of what happened.
Jose, that's right. We have been in touch with senior officials at the White House who tell NBC News that President Biden, who is spending this weekend at his property in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, has been informed, has been briefed by aides about the situation currently taking place, or that has just taken place at that rally for former President Trump in Pennsylvania. I spoke to another official there who conceded that they are trying to get as much information as they can right now. Clearly, there are a lot of events that are moving very quickly at this time. The president, only moments before this took place, was in church at Rehoboth, and when he exited the church, reporters asked him if he was aware of it or had been informed about it. At that time, he had not been. It's clear at this time he now has. This is clearly a very dramatic moment for this country. Both President Biden and many members of his staff have condemned political violence of all kinds. Nobody anticipated anything of this kind to take place. As someone who travels routinely with the president and formerly with former President Trump and with Mr. Trump as a candidate, the perimeter is usually very tightly protected from a great distance as well. As you saw, the U.S. Secret Service quickly swarming the former president before leading him off. You see the SWAT teams who quickly came into position. And I can tell you, having been at many of these Trump rallies, and here's a new picture from one of our colleagues there on the ground, the photojournalists who are in the front row, showing the blood on former president's face and clearly on his ear as well. There he is pumping his fist as he was effectively chanting "fight" to those members, his supporters who were there. The perimeter is usually quite wide here, and having traveled with President Biden recently when he was overseas in Europe, I was struck by how wide that perimeter was, with snipers in many areas keeping a very close eye. And I suspect many of our colleagues in law enforcement would communicate that for a former president and now the presumptive nominee on the Republican side, there would have been a very wide perimeter. So now that we are told by law enforcement that it's believed that Donald Trump will certainly survive this incident, immediately the questions turn to how this happened, who's responsible for it, and what needs to be done to help better secure any of these political figures over the course of the next several days and weeks, not the least of which begins with the Republican National Convention that's scheduled to start on Monday in Milwaukee. A giant perimeter has been built around the Milwaukee arena where they're going to be hosting that event. In Washington, a huge perimeter was built for the NATO summit that President Biden was participating in with world leaders as well. But as I'm speaking to you, I'm checking my phone and texting with colleagues, with staff at the White House for any additional information. Jose, as we gather that, we will, of course, share it with you.
Peter Alexander, thank you so very much. Of course, continue monitoring this for us. I want to bring in retired ATF Special Agent Jim Kavanaugh. He is with us tonight. Jim, and when we look at these images, there is so much that tells people like you so much about the trajectory, where it seems that these gunshots or whatever came from. The president was looking towards his right when at least two of what seemed to be gunshots rang out. And then he immediately kind of went towards his right ear as he was dropping. It seems later, Jim, that there may be up to two what appear to be lines, one right up above his mouth on his cheek going towards his ear, and then one on the lower part of his cheek. What does this tell you, Jim?
Yeah, well, you're exactly right, Jose. I mean, he certainly reacted to his right. I mean, it appears to be he was struck in his right ear. That appears to be where all the blood is. We don't know if that blood on the cheek is a wound or just blood spatter. It's hard to tell. But he certainly reacted to his right. He felt the sting on his right, probably his right ear. There's bleachers behind him that are filled, with supporters. But he kind of looks to his right. Now, it doesn't mean that the shot was directly to his right, that came directly from his right. It's just he hit him on the...
Take a look at what happened.
There you see it, Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, stand by. I want to go to Kristen Welker, who has some very late-breaking news.
Jose, Secret Service spokesperson just posted on X saying an incident occurred the evening of July 13th at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures and the former president is safe. This is now an active Secret Service investigation, and further information will be released when available. Again, that is from the Secret Service. Everyone just absorbing what has occurred and unfolded in Pennsylvania. We're also getting reaction from a number of the vice presidential potential picks of former President Trump. Again, just to reiterate, the Republican National Convention is just days away from getting underway, set to begin on Monday. Senator Rubio posting praying for President Trump and all those attending the rally in Pennsylvania today. Senator Vance, everyone join me in praying for our President Trump and everyone at that rally. I hope everyone is okay. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, please join Catherine and me in praying for President Trump, his family, and everyone attending the rally today. Carrie Lake, of course, Senate candidate, posting, please pray for President Trump. So reaction just beginning to pour in from the political world. Of course, as Peter just reported, President Biden has been briefed. This is the scenario that everyone, of course, feared and was trying to protect against. Certainly as we head toward the conventions this summer, security is in the spotlight. The questions, of course, now, how could this have happened at a rally for the presumptive Republican nominee? And the questions, of course, will go on from there. How to prevent this from ever happening again. But again, the political world just beginning to absorb what has transpired at this rally in Pennsylvania. Sources, of course, on both sides of the aisle reaching out to say how horrified, how shocked, how in disbelief they are at what has unfolded. Jose.
Indeed, Kristen Walker, please stay with us. I want to go back to our investigative correspondent, Tom Winter, with us on the phone. Tom, an update?
Jose, still gathering details at this hour. As you can imagine, things are very fluid, but the initial indications that we have from two senior U.S. law enforcement officials have been briefed on the matter is, first and foremost, former President Donald J. Trump is expected to survive whatever incident this is. So that's the first thing. As far as what this was, what type of incident it is, what might have happened, those are all details that law enforcement is trying to get a handle on. Was this a projectile? Was it a ricochet? Was it something that's not a gun? Could have been some other sort of device. Could have been anything else. We just don't know. It's just far too soon to say. And if anybody is in custody, who that person or persons might be and why they did this, all very much a question at this hour as I talk to you at 6:47 Eastern Time. So we're doing a lot of reporting. Law enforcement, U.S. Secret Service trying to get a handle on it. As you can imagine, federal law enforcement agencies, and I'm including my reporting with my colleague Jonathan Dienst on this, federal law enforcement agencies are all acutely aware of what's going on and are standing by to provide any sort of information or do any sort of investigative work, depending upon what they might find. Of course, there'll be questions about security. If this was, in fact, an intentional act, there'll be questions about the what and the why. But right now, I think folks are still trying to get a handle on the details, the most important of which, just so people understand the current condition of the former president, is that he is expected to survive.
Tom Winter, thank you very much. Stay with us. I want to go to Hallie Jackson, who has an update from the Trump campaign. Hallie?
Yeah, per a campaign spokesperson, I'm going to read you this statement in full as obtained by our colleague Garrett Hake. That President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. The spokesperson goes on to say he is fine and being checked out at a local medical facility. That is it for now. We do expect more details to follow. But obviously significant now as we're looking at some of these images here, Jose, of the president, former president being escorted off stage, that he is, in the words of the campaign, he is fine. He is apparently not seriously injured based on what they are telling us and is obviously being looked at now by doctors. It is an extraordinary moment, to say the least, here, that we are on the eve of the Republican National Convention, that for the presumptive Republican nominee, this has occurred, whatever this is, at a campaign rally just days before he is set to officially accept the nomination. We want to be super careful here because there's still a lot we don't know about motivation, but I will just echo what some of my colleagues have said here, having been to many of these kinds of rallies. There is a security perimeter in place for any time you go to an event with any current or former president. There are mags, there is security, there's a perimeter, and it is usually, obviously, always pretty intense. And so there are going to be a lot of questions here moving forward as to how this could have happened, as we're looking at these very dramatic visuals now from photographers who are lined up right there on stage in Butler, Pennsylvania. We have seen a lot of reaction coming in. I know that Kristen just went through some of it from people like Mike Pence, from others in the party, saying that they are praying for the former president. As you see there, the blood on his face as he's holding up his hand, that shot that we have been replaying here, Jose. But again, the word from the Trump campaign, he is fine, they say, and currently being checked out. We're going to update you the second we get anything more.
Hallie Jackson, thank you very much. I want to go back to Dasha Burns, who was at that Trump rally north of Pittsburgh and has new reporting. She joins us on the phone. She was asked to leave the area as it is considered a crime scene.
Yeah, Jose, that's right. Everyone has now been evacuated. That includes attendees, staff, that includes the press as well. We have our crew has convened. We're all together with our sources what has transpired. I will tell you how it's worried about security of these things. Every single Trump rally that I have heard, I have been to many. The security perimeter is very intense. You are a member of the media or a member of the public or even a member who is an elected official.
Dasha,
you are screened.
I'm so sorry. I just can't. We're not able to make out exactly what you're saying. It is a very chaotic scene where you are. The communications are difficult. We're going to try to reestablish a better line of communication with Dasha Burns. I want to go back to Peter Alexander. Peter, any word from the White House?
Jose, no new information from the White House right now, but I do want to share some information we are receiving from the Democratic governor of the state of Pennsylvania, where this incident, this shooting, appears to have taken place only a short time ago. Governor Josh Shapiro writes, "Violence targeted at any political party or political leader is absolutely unacceptable." He says it has no place in Pennsylvania or the United States. He says he has been briefed on the situation by Pennsylvania State Police. He says he's been briefed on the situation, says that Pennsylvania State Police are on the scene in Butler County where this took place and are working with our federal and local partners. Again, those are the words of Governor Josh Shapiro, the Democratic governor of the state of Pennsylvania. So that's just the latest information we're getting from there. Again, we are reaching out to to the staff at the White House right now. President Biden, as we noted earlier, is traveling. He is in Delaware right now. The reporters, the pool that travels with him, we are told by reporters they are being kept inside the vans that they normally travel in a safe distance away from his home. But that is the latest in terms of the information that we have, Jose.
Peter Alexander, thank you so very much as we continue our coverage. Lester Holt continues with our breaking news.
Jose, thank you very much as we continue to cover the events here. I want to go to Dasha Burns. Dasha was in the crowd covering this event. I think we've reestablished your signal. Dasha, do you hear us okay?
Yeah, Lester, I'm on a better line, I think. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Lester, I will tell you what transpired is the former president was just starting his rally. He was only a few minutes into his speech. He was talking about immigration under President Biden. I and our team were up on the press risers as he first started speaking. We were just making our way off of those risers. We were heading to the ground level where all of the attendees were on the grass in the field at this venue when we heard what initially I thought might have been fireworks. The Trump rallies often involve pyrotechnics. Sometimes there is smoke for effect. So initially there was confusion, shock, surprise for myself being there personally, but also as I looked around to the crowd and everyone around us. My producer, Bianca, and I then realized that it might be something more serious as we heard those consecutive pop, pop, pops that you could hear on the video. We took cover behind some stage equipment. We looked around to make sure that our colleagues were in a safe position as we saw the entire audience, all of the attendees, get down on the ground. You can, of course, see in that video the former president also getting down, his Secret Service covering him. So from confusion to sudden fear. Then when the former president, you see him in that video rising up, he holds his hand up in the air. The audience started to cheer. There were some chants of USA, USA. Still a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion. Attendees started to evacuate. Eventually, the reason I'm on the phone with you, we were evacuated as well. So, Lester, at this point, I will tell you that venue is empty aside from law enforcement, Secret Service. Trump staff are gone, attendees are gone, the press is gone. My team and I are now in a safe location. The security at these events, one of the reasons, Lester, this was so confusing and surprising and shocking for us all. Of course, this is what everyone fears when it comes to the heated political environment that we are in. We don't know what exactly happened, what transpired, but people fear political violence. So this was scary for all of us who were there. But every rally that I have ever been to, Lester, because of that concern, is thoroughly protected. There are security mags, whether you're a member of the press, whether you're a member of the public, even elected officials are screened. Every item that you are carrying is looked at by a member of security. There is a pretty strict protocol about what you can and cannot bring in, which is why there was so much confusion when this started, because there are so many precautions taken to prevent any sort of violence, any sort of unsafe situation. And we are now safe.
Dasha.
But this was just moments into this rally, Jose.
Dasha, let me ask you, you and others, I think, have described multiple shots fired. First of all, do we know anyone in the crowd, anyone who was there? Has anyone been hit? And also, what do we know about the shooter?
We don't know, as far as from my vantage point, where exactly those shots came from. It's a really large venue, Lester, and it was hard to tell exactly where the shots were coming from. I thought I saw some smoke on the right-hand side of the stage, but again, the Trump rallies often have those sorts of special effects, so it wasn't clear if that had to do with those shots or not. I talked to, in that chaotic moment, asked the people around me, the people in the audience, the attendees that were near me, once we all sort of came up for air, if everyone was okay. I did not hear of anyone who was injured. People were certainly shaken up. The emotional landscape of those moments, those 10 to 15 minutes, Lester, was really tumultuous. Went from a very celebratory environment. There was music playing just before the former president came on stage. People were selling merchandise. Everyone was very hot, but very excited to hear him speak. It went from excitement to confusion. People weren't sure if this was part of the show or not. And then when people saw the former president get down, everyone got down. Sudden fear, shock, chaos, confusion. Then there were cheers. And then there was some anger, Jose. I will say that some members of the crowd started to turn on the press for a few minutes there.
Service is officially saying that this incident occurred. They do not specify what the incident actually is, what specifically happened, although we've obviously been seeing it and watching it for ourselves. The Secret Service, they say, has implemented protective measures, and the former president is safe. This is now an active Secret Service investigation, and further information will be released when available. You heard Dasha talking about being moved, obviously, from the scene of this rally because of this investigation that is now happening. But I want to underscore a couple of things here as we take a beat to just remind people where we are now. That at this moment, former President Donald Trump, based on what we're hearing from Secret Service and from his campaign, is safe and is fine. Those are the words of Secret Service and his team. He is now being checked out, based on his campaign, at a local medical facility, presumably in the area of Butler, Pennsylvania, where this rally has been happening here. I can tell you we are also hearing from his son, Donald Trump Jr., who is posting a picture of his father in the seconds after this happened with his fist raised. It's an image, Lester, that we have showed a couple of times in our special coverage here, saying he'll never stop fighting to save America. We are also
Summer fun means one thing. It's time to visibly say goodbye to crow's feet, fine lines, wrinkles, and under-eye bags, and say hello to smooth, beautiful, younger-looking skin with Plexiderm. Plexiderm smooths away wrinkles without foundation, without color makeup, and without expensive procedures. Best of all, you could try it for only $14.95 this summer.
This isn't the first time I've been on TV raving about this product. It's amazing. My friends, my family, they can't believe it. Nothing works like this.
I've had under-eye bags for a very long time, and it sucks. Finally, I tried something called Plexiderm. I put it on my face, and I'm not joking, it works.
So take action this summer and pack up your under-eye bags and wrinkles and put them on vacation with Plexiderm. Try our summertime special and get it for only $14.95, plus get free shipping. Visit plexidermtrial.com or call the number on your screen.
Hi everyone, meteorologist Anthony Baglione here, checking in with our forecast as we head through the rest of this weekend. We're going to watch the chance here over the next couple of days for some just spotty storms passing through, not much coverage as far as a big organized system. Here's Futurecast, so you can see as we get into tonight, just some very limited spotty sprinkles for us. I think most areas are going to be totally quiet. We start off on our Sunday morning, probably with mostly sunny skies. It's going to be a nice start for us. A very hot day, though, for us tomorrow. Here's a look at lunchtime. We're still quiet, and then during the afternoon and evening, we could see some bubble-up storms yet again, and then they fizzle out into tomorrow evening. Actual air temperature is going to be up there close to 100, 97 tomorrow afternoon, but feels like temperatures the next couple of days. 103 tomorrow, 106 on Monday. We climb to a peak there of 108 on Tuesday, and then slowly coming back down, especially Thursday, Friday, Saturday into next weekend. We're looking at some very decent rainfall chances there. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all above 70% or at 70% there for some showers and storms likely. So that's going to help to kind of flip our pattern a little bit into next weekend. 97 for us tomorrow, close to 100 on Monday, 98 Tuesday.
Jim Kavanaugh right now. He's a retired ATF special agent. Jim, please feel free to correct me, but what do we know about the layers of security and how they went into play here?
Yeah, I think your analysis is right, spot on here, Lester. They do have layered security. A lot of it is provided also by local law enforcement. You can see their SWAT teams are there assisting. And the former president has a permanent detail, of course, of Secret Service agents that protect him, a detail leader, a special agent in charge. They're all very close to him. You can see when he was hit, his face is actually turned to the right, and he grabs his right ear. Now, you can hear some small popping noises, and you can also see the crowd react to the noise. So, you know, I think I would probably rule out some sort of a slingshot. I think it is some sort of a weapon. Now, it could be a small caliber handgun that grazed his ear. That's a possibility there that's open. It also could be something like a simunition. And that's a round that we use in training, that police use in training. It will bust your skin. It will hurt you. It fires from a regular firearm. You know, sometimes people use.
Happy Saturday. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. For the most part, it was nice to see some rain yesterday. It did get a little nasty with some flooding at times, but thankfully past the worst part of that. Look at some of these rain totals. Impressive, especially in Fuquay. Close to 4 inches of rain being measured by some of the sensors there. Rocky Mount, Irwin, more than 3 inches of rain. Then Goldsboro, Fort Liberty, and Chapel Hill, 1.5 to 2 inches and 2.5 inches of rain. Futurecast showing that front still hanging out over the area, and it's going to wring out the moisture like a wet towel once again, but this time it's not going to be quite as widespread as what we maybe saw out there yesterday. Most of our storm chance is going to be near and to the east of Interstate 95 late this morning, off and on into the afternoon. As we go beyond sunset, you'll lose the heat of the day for the most part. You'll lose the conditions that are conducive for showers and thunderstorms. That front then moving off toward the east by Sunday. So for today, still hot and humid, a high temperature near 90 degrees. Then by tomorrow, you're looking at a high of about 96. The heat index near 105. Now we got to start talking about the heat risk again heading into early this week. Another heat wave by Monday, near record high temperature of 99. Tuesday could even be a little bit hotter than that. Factor in the humidity, the heat index near 110. Start getting the water and electrolytes in your system now, especially if you're going to be working outside. Here's some good news if you're not a fan of the heat. You see low pressure coming down to the south. Bulk of the heat is going to move south with it. So the jet stream is kind of your dividing line between cool air north and hot air to the south. So the long range outlook, this is looking late in the week into next weekend, favors below average temperatures, still looking at highs in the 80s. Will also be wetter than average heading into late this week and the upcoming weekend. Here's the latest check of the 7-day forecast. The bulk of the heat through Tuesday, backing off by Thursday and Friday.
A major police response in Durham where a man has died after losing control of his car and sliding off the road into nearby Ellerby Creek. It happened on Midland Terrace between Club Boulevard and Camden Avenue yesterday afternoon. The victim has been identified as 32-year-old Corey Lewis. Firefighters were on the scene for hours trying to retrieve the vehicle and working to rescue Lewis, but sadly he couldn't be saved.
Yesterday's heavy rain washed away a decades-old business in Raleigh. Lamar PC on Western Boulevard was flooded with water. Take a look at this video. You can see it destroy.
Happy Saturday. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. For the most part, it was nice to see some rain yesterday. It did get a little nasty with some flooding at times, but thankfully past the worst part of that. Look at some of these rain totals. Impressive, especially in Fuquay. Close to 4 inches of rain being measured by some of the sensors there. Rocky Mount, Irwin, more than 3 inches of rain. Then Goldsboro, Fort Liberty, and Chapel Hill, 1.5 to 2 inches and 2.5 inches of rain. Futurecast showing that front still hanging out over the area, and it's going to wring out the moisture like a wet towel once again, but this time it's not going to be quite as widespread as what we maybe saw out there yesterday. Most of our storm chance is going to be near and to the east of Interstate 95 late this morning, off and on into the afternoon. afternoon. As we go beyond sunset, you lose the heat of the day for the most part. You lose the conditions that are conducive for showers and thunderstorms. That front then moving off toward the east by Sunday. So for today, still hot and humid, a high temperature near 90 degrees. Then by tomorrow, you're looking at a high of about 96. The heat index near 105. Now we got to start talking about the heat risk again heading into early.
Bernie Sanders, independent senator, posting, "Political violence is absolutely unacceptable. I wish Donald Trump and everyone else who may have been hurt a speedy recovery." Pausing on that last moment and that last thought, Lester, there has obviously been, and this has occurred against the backdrop of growing concerns about the political rhetoric in this country. Concerns certainly as we head into this summer season in which both parties will be holding their conventions, the Republican convention getting underway on Monday. And Lester, everyone watching closely.
All right, Kristen, thanks very much. I'll ask you to stand by because we want to go back to Dasha Burns. She is in front of a camera now and has witnesses to this attempted violence. Dasha.
Lester, so we made it out of the venue area. We have all evacuated. Again, press, attendees, everyone who was there is now out of the area. We are currently in the parking lot. Again, there were thousands of people at this rally, as there are at many rallies. There are a lot of cars in this parking lot, all looking to leave. As we were getting ready to speak with you, we just ran into Joe and Donna, a mother-son, who say that they were right there. They were in the area where this happened. Donna, let me start with you. First of all, are you okay?
Yes, I'm shook. I'm definitely shook up, but I'm okay. Yeah, and Trump was talking, watching him. I heard pop, pop, pop. I thought it was like a cap gun. And my son's like, "Gun, get down." And next thing you know, everybody around us was down. And then once we got down, we was up at the top of our bleacher. The men were yelling to all the snipers and all the cops to come over because he had shot a man and a woman in our bleacher. We heard the one is very fatal. We don't know that for sure, but they were down. They went out on grenades.
So Joe, what exactly did you see? Because from our vantage point, we couldn't see what was going on. We didn't see any individuals. All we could do was listen for those sounds. But what did you see?
Again, I was watching the president, and you hear the gunshots go off. Remarks from up top said that the shooter actually climbed up the back of the bleacher. And after we got down, like my mom said, there was 2 people down. They were calling for medics. We did see the 2 people that were shot, and we saw them get carried out. Like, I don't know. The one didn't look like they were okay. I hope the other one's okay, and just may God watch over them tonight.
And Don, you said 2 people. Were these 2 people fellow attendees of the rally? And what kind of did you see them get shot directly, or did you just see the aftermath?
No, you just heard the noise. You heard the pop, 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 seeing the aftermath, and neither of them looked good. They were both down. Nobody was talking. Nobody was moving.
What was going through your mind as you were witnessing all of this?
Are they still here? And am I going to get shot? That's what's going through my mind. He's holding my hand, and we were going to get up and try to get out of here. And some gentleman there said, "No, you stay down." So we stayed down, and then we finally heard everybody evacuate, and he grabbed my hand, and we got out of there.
And Joe, what was your state of mind coming into this rally today? What were you expecting, and what are you feeling now as we all experienced a day that none of us thought would come?
Well, I was excited. I mean, this is just our second rally, and the first one, Trump is very energetic when he comes to these, and now I want to vote for him more than ever.
Why is that?
Just to send a message to these people. They can't stop us.
Don't stop us. That's right.
Don, how are you feeling? I mean, you're here with your son. Of course, you want to protect your baby, and you don't want them or yourself to be in any danger. What were those mama instincts in that moment, and how are you feeling right now?
Exactly. My mama instincts were when he grabbed my hand, I knew my son was scared to death because he was holding my hand. He had held my hand since he was probably 5 or 6 years old. And so he held on to my hand, and you can imagine, my heart went into a million pieces. All I kept thinking was we got to be safe and get out of here. And I agree with Joe. Vote for Trump, because this country got to get back in line. This is out of control.
How did you get out ultimately? How did you get here to safety?
that once they evacuated us, because right where we were sitting, we were able to just keep on going. We actually watched the snipers and everybody over on the side for a few minutes, but we just got out of there. We were scared.
What did you see from your vantage point of the snipers? These were the people protecting the former president.
That's correct. And now they were over in the lawn. They just were watching every single person with their guns going by. I believe the one injured person was over there that they had. Wasn't he on the one on the ground?
Yeah, so before they evacuated, they carried the 2 injured people out. Then they yelled for us to get evacuated. At that point, all the Secret Service were up in our section with the guns, and they were all in the field. Because like I said, rumor was he climbed up the back of our bleacher, so.
Joe, Donna, thank you both so much. I'm so glad you are safe. I know this was not the day that you were expecting, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Don't go too far. I might have some follow-up questions for you. So, Lester, there you have it. Another firsthand account. They were right there. This was not the experience anyone was expecting. Still trying to grapple with what just happened here, Lester.
Dasha Burns, thank you for that interview. Very revealing. We should point out it's unconfirmed what those witness accounts were of other people who might have been wounded. We're tracking all that down, and as soon as we have more on that, we'll certainly bring it to you. I want to bring in our investigative correspondent, Tom Winter. He joins us on the phone with some new reporting on the events tonight. Tom?
Lester, incorporating the work of myself and my colleague Jonathan Dean, 2 senior U.S. law enforcement officials tell NBC News that there is a growing concern that this was a serious, or may have been a serious attempt on the life of former President Donald Trump. Based on the facts of the investigation as they're developing them, again to repeat, 2 senior law enforcement officials tell NBC News that there is a growing concern that this may have been a serious attempt on the life of former President Trump. Lester, I can tell you, as you can well imagine, there is a lot of conflicting information right now as this investigation gets sorted out, what occurred on the ground, who heard what from where, and obviously we're proceeding with extreme caution as to what we're hearing and who may or may not have been involved. But there is definitely a concern that this may have been a serious attempt on former President Trump's life. And why that might be important, some people might say that that would be obvious. You know, different things can happen at these events. You don't know the sequence of events and how it happens. So the fact that there may have been serious intent here, and by somebody that might have been capable of doing this, is why we believe this is newsworthy. So that's the latest that we have right now. It's preliminary information from the scene, from people that have been briefed on what the investigation holds. And so we're going to continue to do our reporting and obviously get right back on with you as we get more information.
Yeah, Tom, stay with me very quickly. I just want to point out we saw some shots of police tape now being put around the area, the stands where former President Trump was apparently shot there earlier, that is now a crime scene. So what you're seeing is, in fact, a crime scene. The Secret Service likely to lead that investigation. But Tom, we've all talked about it. We've seen examples of it, political violence. This is something that law enforcement has been bracing itself for in this campaign season, is it not?
Without a doubt, Lester, I've lost track of the amount of times you and I have talked about it privately in the offices. We've reported on it. The FBI director, in an interview with you directly, said that he was concerned about this type of thing, Lester. And so I think everybody's been concerned about the potential issues, the potential things that could come up during the course of this election, given how divided the country is, given the level of threats. And so that's something that people are acutely focused on, for sure.
All right, Tom, thanks very much. I'll let you get back to your reporting and working out more details as this story develops here tonight. Let's bring in Evie Pomporis, a former Secret Service agent, joining me on the telephone right now. Can you give us a sense from what you have seen, give us your professional eye of what appears to transpire here?
Yes, so what we're seeing is him attending a rally, speaking at the rally, and then we hear the shots. That it almost sounds like these soft popping sounds. So we hear these multiple shots. We see him put his hand to his ear, and then you see the agents come in. Those agents that come in are the shift. It's his detail team. For them to come in like that, that means this is a serious threat. Something serious happened. We're also seeing the tactical team and we're looking at the live shot, the shot of the tactical team. That's the element that comes in. When you see the tactical team, their job is to look for the threat. So you have two entities here. The agents in suits, the shift. Shift comes in, immediately comes on top of the president, and they are there to surround him and to make sure that the shots hit them. The tactical element that we see come in after, their job is to move out, and we see them facing out toward the crowd, and they are to look for the threat. Clearly, we see the agents that get around him, they shield him, and then they move in this unison to shield him body-wise so that nothing strikes him. They move him slowly down the stairs and make their way to the armored vehicles. That's what we're looking at. Now, Lester, if we're looking at how did this happen, again, this is all alleged, nothing's been confirmed, but if we're looking at what's going on here, what went, and it's soon to say, but how does such a thing happen? When you have rallies like this, ideally, you're supposed to have magnetometers. So that's going to be the first thing they're going to look at. Were there magnetometers, right? How did this weapon get in? Sometimes when it's a former president, you may not have all the elements that a sitting president would have, right? All the tactical capabilities. So it's going to be, how did that weapon get in? Were there magnetometers? Were people checked for weapons? And then from that point, where was that person positioned, right? How were they able to get in and get that angle of a shot?
As we look at these pictures, again, as you described, the former president being rushed into that vehicle to be taken away from the scene, I keep thinking about what's happening in the crowd. Unfortunately, the cameras aren't pointing on the crowd, but given the number of pops or potential shots we heard, it seems a lot of people were at risk. You've covered these events, no doubt, as have I. A lot of people wanting to get close to their candidate. That's part of what happens in a campaign. How does the Secret Service draw the balance there as to create, a fortress of security at the same time, allowing people to do what people should be doing at rallies like this?
So let's go to your first point where there's people there. When you do these events, and I've done these events, it's called a site advance. When you secure an event like this, you're the site agent. So you have two goals, two missions. I am to protect the President of the United States, right? However, the other goal or mission is the people at this event. So yes, they're targeting, or let's assuming, right, that again, we don't have confirmation. But when someone is targeting the President, right, if they're going to shoot, yes, he's an issue, but also the people in the area are an issue, right? Where are all these rounds going? So when we hear these sounds, these small, these echoes of what appear to be shots, it wasn't one shot. There were multiple shots, and every round, Lester, has to go somewhere. It lands somewhere. Where are they going? So you've got all these people. So you are responsible not just for the safety of the U.S. president, but you are responsible for the people there. The president, think of him as he's a target, right? Wherever he moves, danger goes with him just because of what he attracts as a sitting U.S. president or a former president or a candidate. So when you put them in a place like this, you also have to think strategically, what about all the people there? Now, you'll see the barricades that are set up. You see the stage that's set up. What you may not see in that shot is you will have ingress and egress elements. That means you want multiple ways in and multiple ways out. So you want movement for the president. You also want to create an alternate movement for him if he can't get out the primary way. So we've got typically at least two ways in, two ways out. And those vehicles that are staged there, they are positioned there specifically to evacuate him. Because also you're in an open area here, right? So you don't have that concealment to cover. You have, whenever you do an open area like this, massive line of sight issues, meaning you can get the threat from so many different ways, so many different areas. And just one thing to touch on too, typically after an event like this, it's typically the FBI who comes in to do the investigation of what happened, right? So it's the Secret Service element is the element that does a protection, and the FBI typically is who's going to come in to investigate what and how did this happen.
Abby, let me ask you this. In terms of what kind of intelligence law enforcement has or is given before an event, we're in primetime campaign season. These candidates are out there doing sometimes multiple stops in a day, big crowds lined up. How much does local law enforcement know about potential threats? Maybe somebody in the crowd who has written a nasty email or a letter or that sort of thing?
They do. When you go out, a part of the advance team, when you go out, you work with the local police department. So here he's going to his location, right? He's going to a town, to a city, wherever he's going. You work from the beginning. You have many meetings with the local police department. The president, former president's coming in. He's going to do a rally, and we share intel. The U.S. Secret Service shares their intel. This is what we're hearing from our side. The local police department, typically because they know what's going on in their community, they're also going to have their ears to the ground. They're going to have intelligence and information. And then we have these meetings. The Secret Service will have these meetings before an event where everybody comes together and everybody shares. I'm hearing this. You're hearing this. What do we need to do? What elements do we need to put in place? So if you're hearing there's a lot of protesters, you're hearing talk that people are going to show up and cause problems, that is all communicated so that you can figure out what you need. And also you can figure out what assets to put into the crowd to blend in. You're seeing the Secret Service suits, you're seeing the tactical team, you'll see uniforms for police department, but they also have an element there that is the unseen. We don't call them undercovers, but there's those agents in law enforcement who will circulate in the area in plain clothes and kind of lend their ear out and hear what's going on.
All right, Evie, you have been a tremendous help helping us understand the mechanics of security in a situation like this. Hopefully we can rely on you again to talk a bit later, but thank you so much. We continue to look at the video, the shocking video, frankly, from Pennsylvania, where earlier this evening, early evening here on the East Coast, someone apparently took shots at the former President Trump. As we heard two senior law enforcement officials saying, there is a growing concern that there may have been a serious attempt on the life of former President Trump. Apparently his wounds are survivable. He's barely doing okay, but we saw him clutching his ear, a bloodied ear, as he was led from the scene. People heard multiple pops in the crowd. We are continuing to track information we can about any potential other victims in this, people who might have been in that crowd. This was a rally unlike pretty much like so many we have seen throughout this election season. People joyous, people excited about seeing the candidate, hearing what he had to say. Nobody signed up for this, however. I want to go to NBC's Dasha Burns, just outside that Trump rally north of Pittsburgh. Dasha, you were there as the crowds were trying to get out. As you watch the video, of course, your eyes are focused on former President Trump and his reaction, but you're also seeing people in the crowd who seem unaware, don't quite realize what's happening. I suppose that's not unusual. As you were able to exit the grounds, were people beginning to fill in some of the blanks of what they saw and heard?
Yeah, Lester, absolutely. There was a lot of confusion initially. You don't expect something like this to happen going in. There's so much security protocol when you come to a Trump rally. And as we were first hearing those sounds, so many people that I've talked to, myself included, our team here, thought it might have been fireworks. We weren't sure what was going on. Now, as everyone has taken a bit of a breath and is trying to absorb what happened, we now understand that that's not necessarily the case. We are coming to you live right now from the parking lot for this venue. Trump rallies attract thousands and thousands of supporters. There are thousands of cars here. And Lester, we are running into people who have evacuated the rally, are looking for their vehicles and trying to process what just happened. That's how I ran into Aaron here. Aaron was in the front row there near the former president. Aaron, first of all, are you okay? How are you feeling?
I'm okay. I was in the first row. I was directly in front of Trump, my seat. I was looking him in the eye. We heard the pops, maybe 3 minutes into the rally, 3 to 4 minutes. I heard 4 pops, pop, pop, pop. The 4 Secret Service immediately jumped on the stage, and we saw him push President Trump to the ground. Then the gentlemen that have the guns came up to start clear right, clear left. They said, get him up. So they lifted him up, and Trump said, I got to get my shoes on first.
Did his shoes come off?
His shoes must have, we couldn't see it underneath that, but his shoes must have come off when they dropped him down to the ground. First thing he said, we could all hear it, I have to get my shoes on first. And when he stood up, I'm looking at him forward, I see the red teardrop right here of blood fresh red blood, just a little tear. Then when they got him up and they turned him, I could see the blood from the top of the ear to the bottom. Wasn't gushing, but it was covered. And then he put the fist bump up, stay strong, and they walked him off.
Erin, what was going through your mind? What did you think when you first heard those sounds?
I thought what you just said. I thought it was fireworks, 4th of July. It's been pop, pop, pop. That's what it sounded like. The gentleman behind me, I was one seat, he was to the right of me. He could see the sharpshooter behind Trump. He said the sharpshooter shot to the left. He killed the gentleman in the water tower here. Now, when I called my husband at home, who's watching TV, he said, I thought Trump hurt his ear when he went to the ground. But he said, no, on TV they showed before Trump hit the ground, the ear was bleeding. So that sharpshooter went across, Trump turned his head, his ear must have been nipped, and it killed somebody in the stands over to the left.
Could you see anyone injured besides the blood on the former president?
All I saw was the gentleman from Beaver County who spoke earlier in the day. He was running for the State House Representative, Elmore, I know his name. He had a white shirt on, and I saw him come from that left stands where the people were mostly shot. I think there was several. They said 3 medevacs left here. Blood was down the right side of his. He wasn't shot, but you could see that he was next to somebody who must have been bleeding profusely because he either helped them and ran, rubbed against them or tried to get them help or something. It was covered. So I knew that he was near somebody. That was my first indication that somebody was actually shot when I saw his blood on his shirt.
Erin, when did you realize that, hey, this might not be fireworks, this might be something else?
When they got Trump down on the ground. And then we were just so concerned that he wasn't hit because we couldn't. It happened so fast. It's really hard to process it. I guess if you have it on your camera to see the exact minute, you can tell. But when he got up, he did not look bad at all. He didn't. He looked very strong. So then I saw that little bit when I saw that blood. I thought, oh, he must have just hurt himself, hopefully. But it does appear that he was probably nicked by that bullet. That
and Erin
turned his head just in the nick of time, but just.
And Erin, you were so near to all of this yourself. You were right there. How did you personally feel about your own safety? Were you scared? What was that experience?
I was totally not scared for my own. None of us in that front row went down to the ground. Not a one. We wanted to only help the president. That's all we wanted to do. Either we could protect him, we could stand around him. I didn't see one person in the row hit the ground. Not one. I was shocking. No one was concerned about us. We were only concerned about him.
Now, you're somewhere safe. You're out of there as you're starting to process this. I know we'll all be processing this over the coming days and weeks. How are you feeling now in this moment?
Well, what I've heard coming out here is now they feel that there was 2 shooters on both sides. So they got the one on the tower on this side, but the one on the right side they never got. So that's why they wanted us to leave immediately, because they thought there's still a shooter out there somewhere. So there could be in these woods around Butler.
Erin, I've covered many Trump rallies. I don't know how many you've been to.
My 6th. This is yours. I was here. I was the 4th car in the parking lot this morning at 20 to 7. So I've worked all day.
You've been here all day.
I knew you were NBC.
We're here. Look, the atmosphere coming into a Trump rally, the supporters, very jovial, very celebratory. Typically, people are selling merchandise, food. What were you coming in with today, and what are you leaving with tonight?
Well, I was here 4 years ago when he was in Butler. It was like 58,000 people. I tell people it was the most magical night of my life. When he came on that helicopter and circled 2 times, he had 4 rallies that night. It was just an unbelievable night. And I was anticipating to be another unbelievable night, but not this way. And it's just very sad. I mean, all these people that came to see him and to have him hurt, I can't even describe it, I just feel sad. I feel sad for our country. I feel sad for everybody, I mean, you don't like the guy, don't vote for him. Don't kill him. We love the guy. We're going to vote for him. I mean, what is up with this violence? I mean, it's just terrible. I mean, I just wish that people I'm glad that guy's no longer with us anymore in that tower. And I hope they get the other one too. And I hope they don't nick him. I hope they get him and he's down.
Erin, thank you so much. I'm so glad. No, I'm so glad you're safe. I know it's a lot to process today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Absolutely.
A lot of people knew that
right.
shoes must have fallen off.
the shoes and new detail. And Lester, of course, this is an eyewitness account. We don't have those details confirmed. This is what Erin witnessed from her vantage point. We will wait for law enforcement to give us those details. But again, this is a developing situation. And right now, Erin and so many others just trying to make their way home, as there are thousands of people who were in this parking lot. Quite a bit of a traffic jam at this point, as people are trying to make their way out. And of course, Lester, make sense of what it is that they just witnessed.
Yeah, Dasha, thank you for your continued great reporting there as we get these accounts, and it bears reiterating. Look, folks, there are things that we're hearing, things we're learning. We will tell them to you when we can confirm them. Obviously, the witnesses has been describing potentially other victims in this, and we continue to work that angle very aggressively. As we know more, we'll tell you about this. The same in terms of what we will hopefully be able to learn about who was behind this attack. As soon as we can tell you something we can verify, we will go right to that. Our senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell joins us now. Kelly, talk to me about reaction from the Biden administration, obviously watching this with great concern tonight.
Well, Lester, there are important steps that the administration takes at this point. The current president has been briefed by the director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, and of course, her agents were with former President Trump, are getting direct information from the scene to the president. In addition, the president has been talking with his Secretary of Homeland Security and his Homeland Security advisor inside the White House. That, of course, is Alejandro Mayorkas, the secretary at the cabinet level, and Liz Sherwood Randall, who advises the president on potential homeland threats inside the United States. In this moment, it is not candidate and candidate. This is the sitting president having to deal with the law enforcement piece, the national security implications, and sort of the mindset of the nation when an event like this happens. So the president is getting those threads of information coming into him. He is in Delaware right now. The vice president has also received an initial briefing. And certainly we are also hearing from others who have had their own experience and still do with the Secret Service. Former President George W. Bush putting out a statement saying that he and Laura Bush are grateful to the Secret Service that they were able to get former President Trump to safety, and they're concerned, of course, about what this incident was about, and they thank first responders for their swift action. So all the apparatus of the federal government shifts to deal with something like this. The Secret Service is involved in the investigation. They are also, of course, involved in the day-to-day protection of the former president. I have been told, based on my reporting, that the level of protection that he would receive as a former president, which has been his existence these last 3.5 years, heading into the convention in Milwaukee, he would be getting a larger detail as the presumptive candidate going forward. So expecting already plans in the works for him to have a more robust set of agents and procedures around him. They're also, of course, waiting to envelop the new running mate to be named at some point, and that person would also have Secret Service protection when former President Trump announces his pick. What happened today rattles the very core of the Secret Service. They do train for this. They are dealing with this potential threat at every event all the time. Here at the White House, where I am right now, no visible sign of any enhanced security. They are focused on certainly the events surrounding the former president at that location. It would also include state and local authorities who would be on the ground participating in the investigation, which would typically be led by the FBI. So as far as any contact from the president, he's got a team of senior advisors around him who are able to give him direct information from the Secret Service, as well as the Department of Justice, law enforcement, and importantly, those Homeland Security advisors, both at the cabinet level and inside the White House, who may have more of a picture about potential threats or concerns that our colleague Tom Winter was talking about. That's where we are at this point from the White House, Lester.
Kelly O'Donnell, thank you very much. Excuse me. The good news is, again, we saw the former president leaving, getting into the car, pretty much under his own power, certainly supported and escorted to safety. But he looks like he will be okay. And once again, flashing that triumphant fist that is characteristic of many of his campaigns. For those of you just tuning in, we want to play for you the moment when Secret Service agents rushed former President Trump off the stage. We want to caution you that we don't know exactly who said what's captioned on the screen or why they said it, because it was such a chaotic moment, but here it is.
Are we good? Shooters down. Shooters down. Are we good to move? We're clear. Let's move. Let's move. We're clear.
And again, that moment of chaos, you hear the screams in the crowd as people are beginning to learn that something is amiss there. Our investigative correspondent Tom Winter is with us on the phone. He continues to get reaction and national security details. What can you tell us now?
Lester, while I'm on the phone with you, one of my colleagues is on the phone with the local district attorney in that county who tells NBC News that the alleged shooter, the person they believe responsible for this event, is in fact deceased. So again, to repeat, the local district attorney in the area where the Trump rally is telling one of our colleagues right now that in fact the alleged shooter, the person they believe to be responsible for this, is deceased. We do not yet have a name or identity of that individual. We don't know their background, where they may have come from, any sort of personal motivations. That's information we're still trying to gather. But that's the headline. The second component of this, 3 senior U.S. law enforcement officials tell myself and colleague Jonathan Dienst that there appear to have been, or they're looking into whether or not several other individuals were shot that were in the crowd. Those are not individuals suspected to be involved in this. Those were either rally-goers or bystanders, but they're looking into whether at least 2 other individuals were shot as well. So that's the latest update that would seem to indicate to us a couple of things. One, they believe they know who did this. They believe they know where they were, potentially what they were using, and they can now start to do a lot of detailed investigative work. We don't know, although there is no indication at this time, that any other individual was involved, but obviously it's very early and very preliminary on that front, and a lot more work will presumably need to be done.
Yeah, let me just follow up on that. I think you may have answered the question, but we did hear from one witness a bit earlier who seemed to believe that there were 2 individuals involved. You're saying that the local DA is saying 1 shooter is deceased. So the belief is that it is a single shooter?
The belief at this time is that that's the case, because what they said was that the person they believe is responsible is deceased. So they did not indicate that there were any other individuals. But that's, again, Lester, as you well know, we're less than 2 hours into this, and so there's a lot of information, a lot of things that are fluid on the ground. And just because this individual may or may not have been assisted by others at this rally, did they have any sort of help in any other way? Those are big questions that will be answered in the next couple of minutes or hours. Typically, based on past events, as you know, this is usually just 1 individual that's involved. But of course, investigators have to keep their minds open. And as reporters who are relying on that information, the investigation that is going on in our own homework, we're keeping our minds open too.
And Tom, you and your team certainly have a huge depth of experience in these kind of breaking news matters, especially when they involve issues like what we're seeing play out here. Is it likely this thing is going to unfold very quickly, that they will work backwards from the moment of the shooting and have a pretty good idea of what they're dealing with?
So let's take, for law enforcement, worst case scenario with respect to the investigation. If this individual had no identity on him, no sort of background, the FBI would be able to instant fingerprint him at the scene. They would be able to get information, and either that way they'd look into facial recognition to see if they could identify him in any sort of government database. From there, you might know where the individual lives, any relatives. They will comb through every inch and ounce of his social media. They will have the ability to go to social media companies and ask for an emergency warrant, and they will most certainly be granted to get access to those communications, cell phone communications, text communications.
Tom,
all of that will be part of the instant investigation.
I apologize to ask you a question, then I have to interrupt you, but we are getting some confirmation. The Butler County DA is now telling us that one spectator has died in this incident. 1 has been apparently wounded and is in critical condition, and the shooter, as Tom has been reporting, is dead. So to repeat that news, and this comes via the Butler County DA, 1 spectator at this Trump rally is dead. Another is in critical condition, and the shooter, what we believe right at this hour, the lone shooter, is also dead. And as our colleague Tom Winter was reporting, they will work very quickly and work backwards, and will likely know a lot about this individual in a short amount of time. You see former President Trump trying to acknowledge the crowd while being obviously stunned and being led to the safety of an armored vehicle, but it appears that he is okay, suffering what we've all been able to see, some sort of a graze-type wound to his ear. We hear him, asking for his shoes. He is led away. He continues to turn toward the crowd to offer a sense of assurance that he is okay. He is now clear of that scene as people continue to leave, all of them telling stories of hearing these pops. Some of them, one woman we had on was able to describe the shooter. Now that we've got that confirmed, her account certainly jibes with what we're getting now from the officials in Butler County, Pennsylvania. And that is the crowd here trying to rally their spirits. And certainly this was several minutes apparently into the former president's rally there in Pennsylvania when this occurred. Multiple what sounded like shots, pops, but we presume there were gunshots fired in his direction as he was looking to the right. And a little unclear, he grabs his ear, and then you can see this team of Secret Service agents can quickly swarm him, confirm that he is clear, out of danger, the risk nullified, and then he is escorted to his vehicle and to safety. That area you're looking at right now is a crime scene. We've seen subsequent pictures where you see the police crime tape, and they will treat it as any other crime scene and try to get the details of this. We don't know what this means in terms of the exact injury that former President Trump received, what treatment he may be receiving, what this will do to his ability to campaign. We certainly, of course, expect to see him in this coming week as the Republican National Convention is about to begin on Monday in Milwaukee. So RNC officials certainly trying to figure that out. But right now, the greatest concern is from that angle is the health of the former president. And of course, thoughts also turning now to the one spectator who was killed in this, another spectator who was in critical condition from a wound sustained during all this. NBC's Dasha Burns is just outside that Trump rally north of Pittsburgh. She has been giving us plenty of updates here. Dasha, as you've heard, we've now been able to confirm that at least one spectator has been killed in this, and the shooter himself is dead.
Lester, just for those who are joining us in this moment, just a reminder that our team, we were in the press pen when this happened. We were in front of a camera, just getting off camera as the former president started to speak. Just a few minutes into his speech, this transpired. We ran for cover as we were trying to figure out what exactly had happened, initially thinking it was fireworks, then realizing it could be something more serious. And now, of course, we know deadly. I am in the parking lot right now, just outside of this venue. This is where press and general attendees have had their cars parked. This is where we evacuated to when we were told to leave the site that is now a crime scene. And I've been running into witnesses here as people have been trying to find their cars, trying to make their way out. And that is where I ran into a man named Joseph, and I want to introduce him to you now. And as we just learned, Joseph, you weren't listening to the program here, but Lester Holt, NBC News, just reporting that one of the attendees has deceased, has died from injuries as a result of the shooting. Joseph, you told me off camera that you may have witnessed this, and I'm so sorry to be talking to you in this tragic moment, but can you describe what it is that you saw?
I was attending the rally. I was in the set of bleachers, the very far left of the podium where President Trump was speaking. I was there with friends. I heard several gunshots. The man beside me suffered a gunshot wound to the head, was instantly killed, fell to the bottom of the bleachers. Another woman looked like she got hit in the forearm or hand. And then at that point in time, it was rather chaotic at that point because half the people were looking because they thought it was fireworks. I knew it was gunshots right away. My friend, he hit the deck. I was kind of looking around just trying to see where the shots were coming from. It seemed to me like the shots were coming from behind the bleachers. It seemed to me the man got hit in the head from behind. He was killed instantly, as far as I could tell. And at that point, state police and a SWAT team, started evacuating the bleachers, and then I helped carry the man out of the bleachers to a tent that was behind the bleachers.
You helped carry the man yourself. What was his condition when you were carrying him?
He's deceased. He died.
How close were you to him?
A couple yards. I mean, it wasn't very far.
Did you know the man?
No, it's a complete stranger. They put a towel over his head and then carried him off.
And you said there was another woman nearby who was also injured. Where was she in relation to him?
I believe she was in the bleachers, like either behind, above me, or just to the side of him. But it seemed like she was kind of at my flank, and then she flinched, and it looked like she had taken a gunshot wound to the forearm and hand.
Joseph, from where I was standing, we heard multiple gunshots, 8 to 11 shots. We've been hearing it replayed on the video here. Do you remember, can you tell, I know it was a chaotic scene, but at what point, was it immediately when you heard the gunshots that he was shot, or was it later on into the firing?
The first 7, he was hit and she was hit within the first 7 shots. I counted 7 shots.
What was going through your mind? You were right there. I know it happened so quickly, but what can you tell us about those moments?
First, I was in shock because I know what gunshots sound like, so I knew they were gunshots. I couldn't tell from where they were coming from. And when I noticed someone got hit, then I noticed, well, it seemed like they were coming from behind me. And it just was pandemonium. And then I heard some more shots, and I couldn't quite tell where they were coming from. But I counted the first 7, and they were very loud and very close. And it killed one man and wounded another woman.
And Joseph, you told me that you're a doctor, you're an OBGYN. How did that background play into how quickly you were sort of able to assess the situation and know what happened to these individuals and know what was going on?
Well, I told the police, I tried to render assistance. I told the police I could render assistance. They had another physician on the EMT team, so they kind of took over. So they didn't really need me, so I kind of helped carry them down initially out of the bleachers. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't, the man that got hit, there was no assistance that needed to be given. And unfortunately, his family witnessed the whole thing. It seemed like he had several family members in the bleacher with him. And they were quite upset. They didn't know, they were in shock. They didn't quite know what was going on. But the man was definitely killed instantaneously.
Could you tell sort of how many family members or people who knew him were with him, and what was their reaction?
I thought there was 5 people. 2 of them were relatively hysterical. So, but they were, when we took the man out of the bleachers, he went to the tent. There was an aid tent or some type of tent behind the bleachers where they took the body, and they immediately evacuated the family with them. And the 2 out of the 5, it seemed like, in shock, hysterical. Like they were still trying to process what was going on.
Joseph, from where I was standing, we heard the shots. We saw the president go down.
Yeah, I saw President Trump get hit.
Yeah. What can you tell us? What details you remember?
It seemed like his head was off to the side, and it seemed like he got nicked in the ear.
Was that before the Secret Service took him down to the ground, covered him?
Right before the Secret Service. I mean, it was maybe, again, it's hard to tell, time dilates when, it seemed like it was a second or 2. Like that first 7 shots that went off, the man got hit. He was killed almost instantly. The woman in the bleachers, she got injured, like she got hit in the forearm and the hand. And then in those rounds that were fired, again, I was videoing the event, so that's when I saw Trump get hit. And it seemed to me like he was looking to the side and the round grazed his ear. So.
Could you tell the gentleman that was hit in the head what angle he was in relation to the former president, like which direction the bullets were coming from and to?
So it looked like he was facing the president at the very far left portion of the bleachers, so he's directly facing it. Again, it seemed to me like the shots were coming from the rear, like behind us. And for me, it seemed like the man was in the way. I guess...
In the way of the former president?
No, it seemed like the man was in the way of the shots between whoever was shooting the gun and the president. The man was hit, it seemed like he was in the crossfire.
And I know... And I know you're in shock and still processing all of this. It's sort of hard to evaluate our own emotions in this moment, but you just experienced something horrific.
Yes.
What can you tell us about your state of mind right now?
You know, I've had opportunities to go to these rallies before. It was the first one I ever went to. I had, you know, time off to go do it. I was kind of excited to go, but, you know, it's, you know, everyone, you know, it's something you don't expect. It comes out of the blue. It's like a bolt out of the blue, and it's shocking. You know, the way politics goes in this country, it just seems like it's really polarized. Everyone's just very angry. I'm honestly shocked this didn't happen earlier. I was commenting to my friend who went to the event with me. I was like, you know, the back behind the bleachers, it's really open. It seems like a really open venue. And it just, you know, I got this sense that, you know, someone really wanted to do something. And again, I was openly talking to her. And I was like, you know, if something was bad was going to be happening, this is the perfect venue to have. I just said this like an hour before it happened. I was like, this would be the perfect place to do it. And, you know, surprisingly enough, it happened.
A devastatingly prescient observation from you. Let me ask you one more question, because from where I was, there was confusion. Then Trump stood up and there were some cheers. And then people sort of remained, those that weren't in sort of the immediate zone where you were, people were still sort of cheering, talking, trying to figure out what was going on. How quickly did you know that whether or not there was still a dangerous situation? It seemed like people sort of started to try to move on very quickly, not sure what had happened, right? So how soon did you know whether or not it was even safe? Did you want to get out of there? What did you witness in sort of the immediate aftermath once the shots stopped?
Well, it seemed after the shots went off, everyone thought it was a prank. Everyone, I think, got a sense, like when I looked out into the crowd, everyone thought I think the initial reaction, everyone thought it was a prank. I knew better it was a gunshot because I just saw a guy got hit. And it did.
For those of us that didn't see, some people started laughing, some people were confused. It wasn't immediately clear to the crowd that didn't witness what you witnessed, you know, that this was in fact a dangerous and deadly situation.
Oh, it was a dangerous and deadly situation. The problem is it's a large crowd, and when the gunshots went off, I think they were, again, my sense was they were being shot from behind, so they sounded a bit muffled. So it sounded more like a firecracker going off. So I think the initial reaction from the people around me were like, okay, well, someone brought fireworks. I just knew better. I know what gunshots sound like. And, you know, when I saw the guy took a gunshot wound to the head, and I saw the woman who got hit in the forearm and the hand, I just knew that it wasn't fireworks. I mean, it wasn't fireworks initially, but I think the majority of the crowd didn't understand that it was gunfire. And I think people took it really seriously when the SWAT team started jumping over the rails. So I don't know what to tell you outside of that.
Joseph, I know this, I can't imagine what it takes to describe what you just witnessed in these moments right in the aftermath. So we thank you so much for sharing.
We're happy to.
Lester?
Dasha, thank you for that account. I mean, no one should have to, you know, fear for their life going to a political rally, something that is uniquely American. But these people have experienced the horror of someone opening fire on the crowd and a former president who was, of course, the headliner at this rally tonight. As we've been reporting, one spectator is dead, another is in critical condition. The shooter, this all according to the Butler County DA, the shooter is also deceased. Our senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell joins us again. Kelly, you have a new statement from President Biden.
That's correct, Lester. This is from President Biden, who is in Rehoboth, and he talks about this incident. He begins by saying, I've been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who were at the rally as we await further information. Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service for getting him to safety. There's no place for this kind of violence in America. We must unite as one nation to condemn it. The words of Joe Biden after learning about this incident involving his predecessor and his current rival in the political environment of this 2024 campaign. The president has been briefed by top officials. He has been talking with Homeland Security officials, and he is at his home in Rehoboth, Delaware, where he has a full complement of the things needed for the office, where he can get the income streams of all the relevant information. This first statement coming from President Biden, I would not be at all surprised if we don't hear more from him tonight as new developments take place. Lester?
All right, Kelly, thank you for that. Terry Schultz is with the Butler County, Pennsylvania District Attorney's Office and was at the rally. She is still there and joins me on the phone. Terry, first of all, If you can just walk us through what you saw, where you were in this crowd.
You know what? We didn't have VIP seats. We were a few rows back, enough that we could, see the former president, and then we were all standing there watching the jumbotrons. They had put him on, and the next thing we did was we hear 3 shots. I see kind of his head, the former president's head, go sideways. You can see kind of like, blood. And at that point, I wasn't looking at anything. I was with some friends. They were like, you need to get down. Everybody get down. The people around me, there were some young people crying. And to be honest with you, at the time this happened, I wasn't even sure they were gunshots. But then we heard like 3 or 4 shots, and then we heard shots kind of returned. A friend of mine videotaped that, and we just watched that, and that's what we saw and what we heard.
From your vantage point, were you able to see where the shots were coming from? Was it obvious?
It was not, but you could hear them, and as soon as you heard the shots, your head turned towards the left. We have a route that runs outside the Butler Farm Show, Route 68, and it sounded like the shots were coming from out there near the field to the left-hand side of where we were. So it certainly was scary.
We look at the videotape, and it appears some people didn't quite realize what was happening at the moment. Were you one of them who was not quite sure what you were witnessing?
A couple of months old, and if you want to really see something,
absolutely. And again, until I was with some friends, and my girlfriend is like, you have to get down. People around us were pulling us down and saying, you have to get down. So I can tell you that it was chaos at the time.
Have you been to one of these rallies before?
I have not. It was my first time at a rally, and I was certainly excited, to go to one. We had so many people there. But I can tell you the chaos that this created. Everyone was scared. You see the former president and what's happening, and and then when I ascertained what had happened from my Pennsylvania State Police friends, it was very scary. But it was my understanding